Hey everybody, it's Kelly checking in to see how you're doing. Hope you're doing well. I've been thinking about truth lately. Tons of podcasts and different things that I've been reading. It just keeps popping up for me. So guess I'm talking about truth today. Several years ago when I was first starting my coaching business, my business entity, the name of my business that I chose is In Your Truth Coaching. And it's funny because in the beginning, I was just coaching word of mouth, just me. Wasn't set up as a business yet, and I was invited to a networking event, and I thought, oh, I better have business cards, and maybe it shouldn't just be my name. Maybe it should be a, a business name. What should I have? And so over the course of a few days, I put together a name, um, and had business cards printed and ended up doing an LLC and all that fun stuff. And that's overall, my overall arching business name. It still stands, In Your Truth Coaching. And it's funny because over the years, I've dug more into truth, like truth as a like a high value for me. It's one of my top values. Um, I I feel and read energy, and so I know when somebody's not being truthful, and it could be it's not so much that they're telling a lie, but that they're not being truthful with themselves. So like they're out of alignment with what's true or what's important to them. They're out of alignment with their values or their beliefs, or they're not looking at their own truth. So that's when I feel like dissonance or friction and yeah, so truth, being in your truth, standing in your truth, digging for your truth, those are all important things to me. So it's funny how the intuitive hit to name my business surrounding truth came quickly many years ago. And as I've dug into it more, it definitely resonates and aligns with who I am as a person. So, yeah, I guess how do I live in my truth would be a question. I get that question sometimes, like how does that come to be? How do I walk that talk? Or is that how you, yeah, walk the talk? Um, I I love to dig deep and do the work, personal, spiritual development, and growth. I always joke that I that's what I eat for breakfast every day. And maybe for some people that sounds terrible or um, not very much fun, but I love it. I love it. I started reading like self-help books when I was, I don't know, probably 17 or 18, and I haven't looked back. We call them different things now. Um, so discovering and digging in and figuring out my truth, like the nuances of what's important to me, what are my values, what are my beliefs, very intentionally looking at my life and all aspects of um, life and what's important and are these different aspects in alignment with my beliefs and my truth and my values, or are they out of alignment? And I know that when things are out of alignment, um, life doesn't feel great for me. It feels chaotic, um, or unfulfilling, or just it doesn't seem to be flowing well. And I love a good ease and flow to my life for sure. So some of the things that I've done over the years to really dig deep is um, looking at relationships, like who are the people that I allow access to me, to my life and to my time, to my space. Um, of course, there's my kids, but there have been relationships over the years and friendships, family members, different people. So, who do I give access to? And, more access or less access. And it depends on who they are and how they're showing up in their lives. If they're showing up out of their truth, they're out of alignment, and um, I can feel it. I can feel it's really uncomfortable. Like they're not being truthful with themselves. They're lying to themselves, essentially. I mean, you have the basics of, telling a lie, telling an outright lie, or manipulating or trying to deceive people. I mean, those are obvious untruths, going against truth. But a lot of times it's more subtle than that. Most people who maybe are not as connected to themselves, know thyself. If they're not connected with themselves, maybe they don't know where to start. And so if they haven't dug deep, maybe certain aspects of childhood, things that were stressful or traumatic in childhood, unresolved, um, unhealthy patterns, um, things that sometimes it's hard to see when it's us. Sometimes it's easier for someone on the outside to look in and see the whole situation or the whole structure or the patterns. That's what a coach does. Um, so I can feel and I can see when people aren't locked in, they're not aligned. Um, and that's okay. And there's no judgment there. But that truth is, it's really important um, to have that alignment. Because when you're operating out of alignment and outside of your truth, things get really stressful, overwhelming, chaotic, not so fun. It feels like you're working really hard. Having that alignment and knowing what your truth is and abiding by your own truth, your values, your beliefs, um, it makes things, I don't know about necessarily easier. I mean, that's subjective, I suppose, but it makes things make more sense, at least for me. What I'm very intentionally deciding what's in my life and what's out of my life, who's in my life and who's out of my life. And that I kind of hold things up and compare it to what's important to me, um what are my intentions. I mean, overall, what is my truth? I know I keep saying that, but to me, that's like the all-encompassing. What is my truth? And my truth is different than your truth and the next person's truth. And it's kind of, to me, it's like an all-encompassing um, body of work of what are my values, my beliefs, my intentions, what do I want for my life? What am I intentionally bringing into my life? And what am I intentionally moving out of my life? Um, yeah, so that's how I approach my truth and being who am I being in my truth. And that's really important to me. I mean, I'm just one of those people that I like to dig deep and dive into those deep waters and figure out what's going on. That that brings me joy. That brings me satisfaction and fulfillment in my life. I love to do that for myself. I love to help other people with that. And I know that not everybody is into that. Not everybody wants to dive deep because it can be a little scary. It can feel uncomfortable if you're not used to that. Living your truth, discovering your truth, being in your truth, it actually takes courage first. It takes that courage and that bravery to be willing to pull back the curtain and see what's behind the curtain or what's under the rug or in the closet or what have we been sweeping under the rug all these years. And it's not just us, but like our families of origin, and it could be many generations. What are the patterns that we learned and picked up during childhood and young adulthood that we've carried into our lives and maybe passed down to our kids and our families and friend groups and maybe even work situations. We don't think about those unless you're being really intentional and wanting to pull those things apart and figure out maybe why things aren't working or why you're not happy or you're not satisfied or you feel like you're running through life at breakneck speed, but you're not finding a lot of satisfaction or moments of joy or happiness. And you're just wondering when is it your time to be happy? When is it your time to have a good life? And if we're just running and running and running at that surface level of just being so busy with life, yeah, it's hard to dig deep and figure out what your truth is and be intentional about what you want in your life and what you don't want in your life. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on truth. Um, yeah, it's interesting when I come across people that are not, they haven't they haven't seen their truth maybe about certain aspects, especially when it comes to childhood connections. I can usually see, like a pattern of behavior in adulthood and where that came from childhood, what maybe unhealthy pattern or trauma that caused that. And if we're not aware of that, we're just perpetuating it. It's just an automatic pattern, automatic behavior that we don't even think about. And not being aware of that, not being connected, it might be causing a lot of um, friction, dissonance, stress, overwhelm, um, hitting your head against the wall. You're like, I've tried this so many times, it's not working out. So there's a lot of places you can go with figuring out your truth, really connecting with yourself and being willing to dig deep and decide um, what's important to you and what isn't important to you, and who gets access to you and who doesn't get access to you. Um, it's been certainly a very long journey for me to figure all those things out, and I'm still always exploring and evaluating and being intentional and weighing. As new people, you meet new people, they come into your life, or new things in personal life or business life. Um, Looking at those and kind of like, okay, here's this new thing or this new person, and here's my truth, my body of work. That's me, that's Kelly, that as I stand in my truth and I know what I stand for and what's important to me, what my values are, what my beliefs are, and does this new thing or new person or new XYZ, whatever it is, does that fit in who I am and who I choose to be and how I show up in the world, who I choose to be in this world. And, you know, if it doesn't, sayonara. If it does, or as I explore and learn new things or learn about new people, there might be an evaluation period of maybe, maybe not. But it's something that I'm aware of and intentionally looking at and um, evaluating, discernment. Yeah. So those are my thoughts. Truth, how to be in your truth. What does that mean? Yeah. So hope you are well. Be good to yourself, be good to each other. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.